Welcome to the Reality After Show. We are covering the Challenge World Championships, Episode 9, Transform the World, exclusively on Paramount Plus. I have to say it because they told us that 100 million times. I am your host, Alex Trias, always joined by my ride or die, Dan Montchal. Dan, how are you doing with your caneless tattoo?
I'm feeling pretty good. I don't think I'm going to do stupid and make another tattoo bet, but we'll see how this podcast goes.
Nothing came to you today? No inspiration from this
No
week's episode?
inspiration. Not yet. No.
Oh man. Well, we're gonna get right into it. We have 8 teams left. Coming into today's episode, we start right at the bar. Kate, you know what? Casey is here in the game. She's here to play, and she's here to rep a whole new country. And guess what? It doesn't matter because her only allies are Tori and Jordan. Because, of course, they are.
She's not allowed to have any others.
Well, I mean, this is the only time we hear Casey speak, so.
Well, it's nice to see her get a confessional where she's not explaining what the elimination is or what the challenge is doing. So
No, she just has to explain the alliance that we all know already.
Because I guess at that point, she doesn't really know any of the vets, but she hasn't done a season with Theo.
No,
clearly not working with Kellyanne here. Very limited experience with Darrell. Like Darrell really hasn't been a focal. And I mean, Casey doesn't want to make alliances. Like I have a whole little rant on Darrell later, but we'll get there.
A rant on Darrell?
It's not. It's a little bit of a criticism, but it's not.
I thought this was a good episode for Darrell.
It is, and it's more about the overall state of his game. Where I was watching, thinking of this episode, and it's nothing. I try not to be negative. I love Darrell, but maybe need to switch it up a little bit.
I mean, that's fair.
And then, clearly, Casey has never met, maybe met, but has never done anything with Yes. So at this point, she really only has Tori and Jordan, and I feel like the Jordan's more because of the Tori connection, because I wouldn't say that Casey and Jordan know each other that well. They know and then ride or die.
I mean, they know each other well enough now where Jordan was saying I had to vote my friend in, pointing at Casey. So it's I think they do enough meetups behind the scenes of the show that they are friends. My rant is on Jordan and Tori, and a little bit of Kaz, because it sort of goes with what Danny's been preaching on his social media all season long of MVPs that sort of just bend to the will of their legend pairing. But we'll get there because we go immediately into Tori and Danny. Tori's just and you know what? Good on Tori here. At least addressing the situation. We see later in the episode her being well, it has to be my way or the highway. We are giving you so much by putting the obvious pair in because you have to split the duo of Kellyanne and Darrell.
Yeah.
And those two pairs. But we're doing you this huge favor. So it means that you guys are the ones who have to lose someone from your side when Kellyanne wasn't on either of their sides.
And, maybe at some point we'll hear more from Danny. I know Danny has said that, he'll speak out more, do some podcasts once the season's over or he's officially out of the game. But I'd like to know, was there initial conversation in the beginning of the game? Because I feel yes, there's been so much friction here, but you look at it from all sides and there didn't need to be. Sure, they had allies that were kind of different from one another, but they would have been able to hide so well in the middle with all these connections without having to do shit. And it's really their own fault they keep being put in the spotlight because they keep bickering with each other.
Oh, I agree. I agree 100%. And I'm not sure how much their interactions were other than seeing how people are in your initial meeting. I don't know how much game talk was being done between the legends and the MVPs in that early going before partners are picked. Only thing we know is Danny in confessional saying that his wife Kiki told him if you couldn't get John A, get Tori.
Which I'd have to think that her thought with Tori there is more of just the connection, because she's connected with everyone well. And
she's a solid competitor. It's
maybe
like,
too well.
yeah. Yeah, and I love that like Dane just constantly points that out as like the game goes on, or especially in this episode. But we see them both being like, okay, well, we both have like these two specific people that we are protecting. Like
Mhm.
Tori's protecting Jordan and Casey, the people that they've been working with for seasons upon seasons upon seasons. Danny is protecting Sarah and Emily. More so Sarah than Emily, but Emily is a part of his crew and he wouldn't ditch her unless it was like appropriate to ditch her.
Mhm.
But the main one is Sarah. Um and now Danny's starting to get nervous because of this bickering and because we both are like refusing to allow any of our pieces go, we're going to be the ones in the limelight. If the round goes a certain way, we're the ones being thrown in. We're the ones going to be called out to go into elimination. This is the most nervous I've ever felt on my time on the challenge.
Just quick question for you about this pairing of Tori and Danny. Is there a right move for them to do? Because Tori, obviously, she's, said it, she's not going to go against her friends. But Danny's come in and it's gung ho, like, I'm playing my own game. I'm doing what's
Mm.
best for me and my chance to win. And so he can't really just bend to her because that kind of goes against what he wants to do.
Yep.
So was there ever a way for them to kind of come to the same page where it didn't seem like one was bending to the other's game?
Yes, and the answer is compromise. Like an actual compromise. Not the
Mhm.
compromise we get in this episode of like, oh, we have to write the contract because we are gonna throw in Kellyanne and Tristan. It's such a hardship on me as Jordan because I have to force Kaz to put her friend in. So Kaz puts her friend in. Like, listen to the words that you're saying out of your mouth. Like, I left them out of the conversation entirely because it's their friend involved.
Mhm.
But ultimately, Kaz bends because she realizes Jordan won't. And
There's one
and
thing we know about Jordan: he won't bend.
and and that's the thing. It's like and we know this. It's hypocrisy within reality TV and in reality TV competitions where you're forcing the person with less experience and less like challenge connection to turn on their friends, but when someone tells you to turn on your friend, oh, suddenly that's the wrong move. It's the wrong play. You don't understand the bigger picture here. And you hear that from Jordan. It's like Danny and Sarah just need to realize that yes, saving Yes and Emily is screwing our game. And in my mind, I'm like, is it really? Like, yes, they have been doing decently in the dailies. And Emily is a very strong competitor, but we have not seen Emily compete in a final. And personally, I think she has a body type that will flame out in a final.
Mhm.
And we know that Emily has weaknesses. And Yes may counteract that, and Yes may have like that positive energy to push Emily across. But I think Yes and Emily are a better team to bring to a final than a Casey and a Troy, than a Jordan and a Kaz, than a Sarah and a Theo. It's like, so the answer to your question is they should have been able to have an adult conversation with each other, realize that in order for both of them to have their way, they need to be willing to let one of the two of their pair that they're trying to protect go.
Yeah,
So
because you
Tori
feel
needs
like
to let Casey go if she's adamant about Jordan. If she's
Mhm.
adamant about Jordan, then Danny has to be like, okay, then Casey's your answer. There you go. And then from him, it's easy. Now I'll say yes to Yes and Emily because now you have given me assurance that that Casey is on the table.
Because I think you could have easily done it where they come in and they say, okay, beginning parts of the game, we each have our two pairs. And then once you get to the halfway point or something, it needs to be whittled down to we can each only fully protect one
Yep.
team each.
Yeah, and that's Tori's big weak spot. And a lot of the Vacation Alliance's weak spot is because they're so used to being this position of control where they can dictate the seasons and make the seasons incredibly boring because we'll take out anyone who goes against us or isn't willing to bend the knee to us, then you're out of luck. But now you have someone like a Danny, someone like a Sarah, someone like a Emily who no, we are going to stand our ground.
Mhm.
They're not used to having players in the game that will stand their ground. Like Danny's willing to compromise if you bring logic to the conversation. Because in his head, he's like, well, if you told me that Jordan's someone that needs to go, then why are we protecting Jordan? Like,
Mhm.
shouldn't we be putting him in? I understand that you are close to him, that you were engaged to him. Like, but if he's a threat to us winning money, then why are we protecting him? And
Yeah, because
yeah,
like you see later in this episode when it gets to like the challenge or whatever, that Jordan, he even states, he's like, I think that Kaz and I are the best team there. I don't know that he's wrong.
I don't know.
I don't think it's definitive they're the best team there. They're in the conversation.
Well, I mean, we are at a point now with the 7 teams that are left. I believe personally it's very well balanced. Like I don't believe there is one in particular team that takes a firm lead over the other 6.
That's fair.
I think all of them have their strengths and weaknesses. Some of them are very like jack of all trades type of thing. Like a Casey and Troy aren't going to excel at like any specific thing, but they're going to be at least average at everything. Whereas like some of these other teams will have weaknesses. Like Kaz is extremely bad at math. Like you were in elimination because Kaz doesn't know what 6 times 7 is.
We don't know what the school system's like in the UK.
We don't know what the school system's like in the UK. You're right. I'm not used to 6 times 7. It wasn't in kilometers.
Yeah.
If you kilometers told me kilometers,
yeah.
But you know what I'm saying. It's like
yeah.
I like Jordan and Kaz are a strong team, but they definitely have their weaknesses. And I think a big weakness isn't necessarily the competition side. I think Jordan being very Jordan and thick-headed about his decision making and who he chooses to align with versus and not listening to his partner. Because like this episode, we are now knowing as an audience, Jordan does not care what Kaz thinks.
I think part of so Jordan's always been like this. This is nothing new, but I think what's making him dig in his heels maybe a little bit more than normal is the fact that he had to constantly bend last season with Anissa as his partner. And he won't say it. Everything he'll say is that, Anissa was a great partner and he's happy to do about it. But the competitor that Jordan is, and deep down, he was pissed at how last season ended. And so I think he came into this season, we know he got in better shape, and he's just like, I am going to do things my way. And most times it's not going to work. But if not, well, then, hey, I was doing it my way, but not realizing that you can't do it everything your way when you're in a partner game.
Right. And like in his world, he probably watched, what was it, Double Agents or Spies, Lies, and Allies that... It was Double Agents that CT and Amber win, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I believe like he watches that season and he's just like, I can do that. If you just give me a female partner that can run and listen to me, I'll be winning these in strides.
Mm-hmm.
Like no issue whatsoever. Just get me to a final with a partner that will just run and I'll win. And like I think he sees that in Kaz, and like and to Kaz's credit, I think Kaz is a good competitor. Like, she won her season for a reason alongside Tristan. She has the skills in order to do it. I think her thing is now she's been willing to bend, and I think now she's starting to get to a breaking point with Jordan about, like, my points need to have value in the conversation. It can't just be, you are doing this because I know best. So you should just listen to me. It's the way that he's approaching these MVPs. It's like, oh, it's silly that you guys want to play the game. Like, here, I'm going to be teaching you how to play the game, but you're going to play it under my rules and under my decision making. You don't get to make the decisions.
Yeah, that's just that's Jordan, for better or worse.
Yeah, it's a lot of the mainstays, and it's part of what we love about them because it makes them characters that you kind of root for, root against. But and part of me keeps wondering, like, would I enjoy this version of Jordan more if the person that he's not sticking his neck out for is Tori? Like, if they were on separate seasons, would I be feeling the same way?
That's fair. I think it's hard to separate it just because we've had so much of Jordan and Tori kind of shoved down our throats the past 4 or 5 months.
Because like Jordan on All Stars went separated from Tori. Only season in recent memory where he was on and Tori was not. Yeah. And he does his thing. Like he goes out there, he understands his role in the season, and he shows out. And then goes home because of an elimination where that requires 2 hands against Mark. But it is what it is. So moving forward from that, though, we get Tristan and Kaz talking about this, and like Tristan and Kaz haven't had a game conversation despite them winning the final together in the Challenge UK. They haven't had a chance to really align. And Tristan's like, I want to be aligned with Kaz. Like, I can see the bigger picture here and know that me being aligned with Kaz protects me and Kellyanne. But because I'm attached to Kellyanne, who's very pro, I'm taking out all the big threats, I'm not able to do so. So it's like they come to this decision of like, they're sad that they're not working together, but they're like, we are friends outside of this. The least we can do, give me a heads up if the vote's coming my way or the decision is coming my way. And they both agree to it. And honestly, that is healthy. That's how friends should be going on to these shows, with the realization that you don't have to solely play with your friend.
Well, don't tell Tori that. She doesn't understand it.
I am trying to tell Tori that, but she will only listen to the official challenge podcast probably. So she doesn't hear my voice.
She needs Anissa to hype her up.
No, fuck Anissa. It's been a few weeks since I've been able to say that, and I've had no reason to, and I won't have a reason to probably for a while. So, because to my understanding, she's still recovering from her injuries.
Yeah, I mean, you would think if she's still recovering, we know she's not on the next 2. She's not going to be on All Stars. She's not going to be on USA. And even just with her injury and the surgery, I'd be shocked because you would think they're probably going to start filming 39 sometime like this summer. I think that'd be a tough turnaround for her.
They're on location right now for season 2 of USA. I'd be very hard pressed to believe that they wouldn't begin filming or bringing cast out shortly after that filming is done. Because what we have been seeing is USA and the USA World Championships and the main show have been filming in generally the same location. So my understanding would be they finish USA, and then if that's about like a 6-week game or like a month and a half, so that will lead into probably early June. I would make a hard guess of somewhere between early June to early July that we would get Challenge 39 rumors of the cast flying to location.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
There we go. Look at us. Right. And if we're right, you know what? Move over all the Challenge MTV T accounts. You can just come to me for my random speculation. It'll be just as good. And you won't get all the stand-up drama that the T accounts have. If I need to see another thing about why Cara Maria is a queen, which I agree, Cara Maria is a queen. It's excessive at this point, people. Like, chill.
Hopefully Twitter dies and that kind of calms that down.
Well, don't tell Elon that. But, okay, so next we get Kiki and Kellyanne, which obviously this is setting up them going into elimination at the end of this episode, just like how the Tristan and Kaz conversation is setting up that Kaz will not let Tristan know ahead of time that he's going in, even though it's very widely assumed they're going in. So Kiki and Kellyanne are just like talking about how much of a bond that they have together, we get more of Kiki, of like what this win would mean for her, like what she has gone through in life, the domestic violence in her life, that she hopes to be like a symbol for women, where like they need to understand like the only permission that's needed to do whatever is from themselves. And once again, I'm just like in my notes, like I cannot stand Kiki any harder than I am right now. Like she is a godsend. We were gifted Kiki for the challenge franchise.
She's great because she doesn't, because even if you go back to original season on, the Challenge Australia, she isn't the main focus, but anytime that she's on the screen, she sucks it up and she does it all in a positive way, that it's just like, this is exactly what we want out of, not just a female, but any competitor on the challenge. Like, she goes about things the right way. She has a positive attitude. When it's time to compete, she becomes a badass. Like, everything that she's doing, like, I don't understand how she isn't getting a call for every season for the next few years.
Honestly, I'm still going to drive home the point we've been making the last few weeks. If some of our rumors are right about a majority of the Vacation Alliance taking a brief like pause and not filming for Challenge 39, this is the perfect window of opportunity to throw a majority of these MVPs in. You don't need to make this a 3-month game. You do not need the challenge to be that long. Dude, same style season that you're doing for the streaming service, throw a majority of these MVPs in and let these stories continue. And because like we have been told through 9 episodes now, these MVPs are here to play their own way. They have their connections that they want to keep. They're willing to backstab, though. They're willing to make hard choices when the time comes to it. Let this continue. Make these changes. I have a point for the end of the episode before we wrap up that I want to drive home here and want to hear your thoughts on, but we'll get to that. And prior to us going to the daily, John in our chat brings up a good point from our Tori and Jordan conversation. Going further back, we have had the Tori and Jordan storyline since War of the Worlds 2. I'll give you one even better. We have been having this storyline since Dirty 30.
Yeah, that's true. It's been there for a while, but it's definitely been different over the past couple years, because at least in War of the Worlds 2, you had them as this underdog story. Like, they were going against, Paulie and Kara's cult, and they were more rootable because they're just like, oh, they're doing things, the right way.
You had a real antagonist.
Yeah.
You had people that were there to really stir the pot, play the game their way, and then you had someone rootable and an underdog and a Tori and a Jordan who are constantly getting thrown into elimination by the other team. That's like, you're really putting their backs against the wall, and like you said, like, now they're rootable. They're rootable because now we're seeing them, get their feet in the sand. As Corey Warren always said, like, you have to go touch sand, put your hands in it. It's time to go. But like Tori and Jordan were able to prove time and time again, they could go down in the sand and get the job done.
I would like someone just to say to Tori, be like, you've become the thing that you hated several years ago. You've become into not the same, but like a newer version of Kara, with just like, hey, I'm going to control.
Alliance,
yeah.
Yep. It's different for sure, but the similarities are absolutely there. You know what? And we also have a similarity to last season. It's not Antonio Banderas, but we got Anthony Ramos here at a new movie plug. It's not Puss in Boots, The Last Life, or whatever it was called. This challenge is sponsored by Transformers: Rise of the Beasts.
I didn't even realize they were still making Transformers movies. How? There's like 15 of them. Like,
because they're probably like, in retrospect to how films are made now, like, sure, a lot of that budget is going to be the like the effects, but I think at this point that's probably relatively cheap to what they make, because like, oh, we can put little to no work into like the actual script of the movie. We have big things hitting stuff, explosions. We can throw this into movie theaters and the children and families will still go out and watch it.
I can only imagine that it's just like someone on Transformers now is like pissed off at someone in like the Fast and the Furious franchise is like, oh, they're putting out another movie, so are we.
But who did a better plug in connection to their movie and the challenge, Antonio Banderas or Anthony Ramos?
I'm going Antonio Banderas.
The guy who felt like, oh, we definitely sent him a cameo to do this instead of a legitimate.
Yeah,
I mean,
this one was better, but it was still like, why are we adding this? Sure, you're getting sponsor, you're getting money by having this in, but I don't need loosely themed challenges around whatever movie's coming out.
This reminds me of a couple seasons back. It was, I believe, Double Agents. May have been Spies, Lies, and Allies, where they brought in the actors from Top Gun Maverick, but not Tom Cruise. They could not afford Tom Cruise for it, but they brought them in, and it felt very much like that with Anthony Ramos. As much as they wanted to hype up that this challenge was such a banger, it was so cool, we have seen so many better. Like, we saw a better semi-competition on the Challenge Australia and Ride or Dies.
I have no doubt that this challenge would have been a lot of fun to do. Like, for the competitors, I can understand. I'm sure it would have been a ton of fun to do. But as viewing it, watching it, it was boring.
It was boring. At least it was quick. But yeah, it's called Highway Hijacking. And it's a 50-50 split. Dan, tell me what it is. You told me you were confident on one of them.
Isn't the first one like teamwork? Teamwork, communication. It's not?
No.
I'm sorry. I just got pissed off because I saw that it was 50% nerve.
Well, you got that.
You got that. What the hell does that even...
Like, ask Emily and Tori what it means.
Crashing? Sucking?
Yeah, crashing.
Like, what is up with these percentages? Like, is someone just the biggest Fort Minor fan? Like, why? What's the point?
Yeah. This was a stupid challenge, but it was 50% speed, 50% nerve. Because I wrote this almost word for word, so bear with me. So for highway hijacking, the partners will be doing two separate things. One of you will jump from the back of the truck, inspired by Optimus Prime, while it's going at 50 miles per hour. At the same time, another truck will come alongside of you, that other truck has a key that you will need. So you'll jump onto that truck, grab the key, and jump back onto the original truck, race to the front, unlock the box, and hit the detonator. The other person will be strapped inside a four-wheel drive super buggy, like something out of this world. Another robot in disguise. When the detonator is hit, that person will get a signal that it is time to go. Slam on the gas and blast through the back doors of the semi, down the ramp, and to the finish line. The fastest team wins.
This was dumb.
The amount of time that it took me to read that full explanation versus...
It was as long as the challenge was.
The challenge
might have been
itself
longer.
Is very quick. So like in my notes I wrote before the challenge started, because I didn't take that many for it. I was like, this is actually a competition where you could get away with saying and split by just under a second.
They loved it, especially not showing us the times.
They didn't need it. They didn't need it. Like as a viewer, the reason why these comps aren't great is because there's really no indication other than just reading the edit of like, okay, so it's going to be down to one of these few teams that got more screen time while they were doing it.
The one thing that I loved about this challenge, which had nothing to do with the challenge itself, was the fact that you saw almost all of it. It was the males that jumped over and came back, and it was the females, that were busting out of the back of the semi, driving the dune buggy, except for Darrell, because he doesn't do heights.
It's not do heights. And that's why they lost. And you know what? Maybe this is part of your rant. Because one thing he says about Kiki later on the episode is that Kiki moves too quickly. I think the real thing is maybe it's just that Darrell is moving too slowly.
Yeah,
He's trying to drive that super buggy and being like, you know what? I have to pretend like I have my kids in my car. I can't step all the way on the gas. I just saw Emily wreck herself. I need to be able to get into my camper. And you know, I'm gonna cool it off a little bit.
just ease it out. He's getting older. Just older people, they generally take it a little bit slower.
But he's hilarious in confessional still. You have to give him that.
Oh, he's the best in confessional. Like,
and
there's so many things that are great about what he does. But my whole thing with Darrell, we'll just get it now because there isn't really a spot, but he's become so reliant on, I'm not making the big moves. Like, I'm, just make as little waves as possible and see how it goes. And I guess, he did have All-Stars 1, he got to the end, and even All-Stars 2, like, he got to the end. But in like the seasons with all these new people, I don't get how he can keep coming on to like the main show. And I'd almost look at this as more of an extension of the main show than All-Stars. That this riding the middle, it doesn't work for you. Like, I love you, Darrell. You have so much there, but let's show a little bit more personality when it's not in confessional. Make a stand.
I see that. I guess like the bigger question is, I think that's always been Darrell. Like, I personally haven't seen all of the older seasons, so I can only speak on a few of his wins.
Mm-hmm.
But even these games that he won, they were either like in a team or he was playing the I don't want to like make a target out of myself. So
that's true. I mean, that's fair. I mean, that's essentially like Fresh Meat 1 when he won. Like, they were just kind of there, and
they were there.
They got lucky that Evan and Coral like had to end up getting DQ'd, and the only thing they really had to do was they went into the last elimination, took out Derek and DM, and then won the final. So that's true.
Like, that's always a big what if in the world where Evan and Coral don't have to leave due to the injuries. It's like
they dominated that season.
Like, they dominated the season. I still think Darrell gives them a run for the money for that final, but I think prime Evan and Coral's still like willing to come to the show. Like, they probably get that win. Which would be more of a shame because of where they are at this point, where Coral's just never going to do the challenge again, and Evan definitely won't ever do the challenge again for different reasons.
It's weird, speaking, with Evan, it kind of goes hand in hand with his buddies. Both the Fresh Meat seasons is Fresh Meat 1. Sure, it was Coral and Evan dominating, and the story was Wes and Casey, and they lose to Darrell. They lose to someone who's playing more of the middle and plays the road. And he had almost the same thing in Fresh Meat 2, where that was Kenny and Laurel's season. They dominated that entire season, and then I don't know how Landon won that season with Carly, but
because he's Landon. That's literally the only reason, is because he's Landon, he wins. Like, he rarely loses. But also there's a history of Laurel just not being able to close out in a final.
No, she's failed in a lot. She has a lot of finals losses.
She gets there though. It's
she
like
does get there.
Laurel is probably like the female challenge equivalent of LeBron James. Tell me I'm wrong.
Well, right now she only has one. Her only wins free agents, right?
Is it only free agents?
Because that would be the only way that I'd push.
Okay, then she's Jerry West. She's Jerry West right now.
Yeah. But she's able to dominate pretty much the entire, we'll call it the regular season. It's just when it gets to that final.
Okay, so she's Giannis. Like,
that's fair.
For the NBA people, like, she's dominant. Like, you don't want to go up against her, but there are those moments where like there are chinks to the armor. And she will lose. I don't even know why we're talking about Laurel at this point.
I got us off a Fresh Meat tangent. That's my bad. It's you got me reminiscing about Darrell's wins, and somehow I just kept jumping around. That's on me.
You know what? it's fine because this is why this podcast is so great. Like we just pull from our whatever we can think of about the challenge, and this is why people come and listen. Like if you only wanted the play-by-play of an episode, you can read an article about that. You're here for some entertainment, some knowledge, some nostalgia. And who better to give nostalgia than two people below the age of 30?
I'm not below the age of 30. I wish
I was giving you a window of opportunity there, Dan.
I appreciate it. Shouldn't have said anything.
But anyway, I did forget to put some other key catchphrases from the description, so I feel like I'm obligated to say it, and I hope that we don't get sued by Transformers. Unleash your inner beast, and let's roll out. And Dan, your reactions whenever I had to say any of the puns was what was driving me through these descriptions.
That's so bad.
But yeah, so let's talk about like the main points of this challenge. So the first off, I'm definitely the person doing the stuff on top because my only fear would be like what happens with Emily and Tori is like, because like your whole point is we have to go super fast, and it seems like as soon as you pass that finish line very quickly is that little off ramp of tires to like stop you. Oh, I'm crashing and I don't want to go out of the game because I'm crashing. So I will gladly just do the mini suicide off of the 50-mile-per-hour trucks. Like, no problem, because like they're so close together. It's not even like you're jumping. You just have to take like a little bit of a longer step and you're over there. Like a little stride, pop.
As long as you have there. Any type of momentum.
Like it really in my head, I'm like, Danny Tori should have been in the top two. Like, Danny's a football player. Like, this is the first step of the long suicides that you would do like on a basketball court or on a football field where like, oh, you do the little pop 5 yards and then you pop right back and then you would like keep going farther and farther and farther. Like, I would have done that. And like John mentions in the chat, and I noticed it too. I wondered if you noticed it. The box was already open.
Yep. Nope. I noticed it. Well, you can't tell me that stupid long giant key actually really did anything. Oh, I'm sure you could have hit the button without it.
What? You're telling me that this prop key does not trigger an elaborate mechanism to pop open the top of the box so that you can hit the detonator?
So, but you brought up Tori and Danny, and sure, Danny, it opened up, whatever. But getting back to Tori, so the reason for it is that Tori's driving because she's used to driving in New York and New Jersey. But the way that she's going, how she explains how she flipped or whatever, I don't think Tori's ever done a donut in her life.
Yeah. And I'll admit, I've never done a donut either. And I wouldn't be attempting it now with $500,000 on the line. I'm sorry, a share of $500,000 before taxes.
Yeah, nice payday.
Look, I'm trying to buy a house. I need that money.
well, Tori just wants to win, so maybe she can give some of that money back to Casey.
I have to give the money back to Casey. I have to give the money back to CT. Like, CT definitely needs that money right now because the ex wants like 4 different types of alimony. It's like, diapers ain't cheap. CT told us this.
It's not to get off tangent again, but you brought up CT, so fuck it. Have you listened to any of the times that he's gone live or whatever? And
I have not.
It's kind of heartbreaking to hear what he's going through. And granted, I'll say, it is only one side of the story, so I'm not going to take everything that he's saying. But
as challenge fans, we are supposed to side with CT 100%.
Of course, so. And from everything that I've heard, it seems like he's more in the right or whatever. But it's typical CT where he's just like, I shouldn't say all this. I shouldn't say all this. Yeah, screw it. I'm going to do it anyway. I'm just like, all right, some of that old CT is still in him.
And you know what that means? He's about to get himself shredded once again and coming back on the show for like the Challenge 40.
He needs to come. There's no way I know, like we heard that he was called for USA 2.
For USA.
He said no. I'd have to think that his comeback is coming If
I
it's
think
not 39, it's definitely 40.
As soon as I think outside of life stuff starts leveling out, I think we see CT again. Whether it's on the main show or on an All Stars format, dude's working out. Like see, and we all strive to have the metabolism that CT has, because like dude can be like so out of shape and then just like lift a barbell once and shed 50 pounds. Like
Must be nice.
it must be nice. But back to the challenge. The main flameouts we see here are from Emily and from Tori. I personally knew that this wasn't where like Emily could go out, because I knew about certain exits because it was just impossible to not find out about them. And at this point of the show, I didn't remember anyone leaving after for medical reasons after Amber.
No, I know it's
so the rest of what happens post Amber leaving due to pregnancy is a blind spot. So I was like getting nervous a little bit, where I was like, oh god, like they're showing her arm, like did their arm get like caught because like it's open and just like the rods? But ultimately just whiplash. But that was a nasty crash.
It was, and it's just like once again, like challenge production, you know, people that are setting this up. It's just
imagine
like
Amber was still in the game.
Okay, yeah, not only was Amber still in the game, but at this, like, sure, you see that there was plenty of time and room for people to stop, but everyone's coming up on it quick or whatever. We couldn't design this where there was a little bit more runway for them to come to just a normal stop.
Yeah.
Just something small, because, like, sure, injuries are going to happen in some of these or whatever, but if it was just, you know, she's going as fast as she can, she's speeding down, and then she isn't quite sure what to do with her stop. Like, you extend that by another 100 feet, we have no issue whatsoever. We don't need to lose people in the game over dumb injuries that could easily be prevented like this.
I agree.
But, like, just as you said, we could easily, you know, just give people pregnancy tests and not have them compete for 4 weeks either. But, you know, what do we know?
Yeah, but what do we know about player safety? But our winners are ultimately going to be Jordan and Kaz, and during their confessional, Jordan's being Jordan and company man. He's a company guy. Doing his cringy Transformer analogy, which is ironic now, seeing how I believe this relationship between him and Kaz is going to shake down, where he's just like, me and Kaz, we are actually a Transformer. We are able to combine, which I'm thinking now, I think he's thinking he's the Power Rangers that like morph into each other, not a Transformer. And he's just like, the rest of them are just the people. They're all Shia LaBeouf and Megan Fox who just stand around. Mark Wahlberg, John Cena, like they're just the people that are there. They are useless in the fight.
Yeah, it's Jordan's known to have some of these really cringy confessionals. Like, if he's going to do that point, give him his old lady like scarf and bonnet back and just let him do it in that, so at least I can laugh.
No, can he do that? I also wish, instead of hyping up Transformers, he got his movies crisscrossed and did another Puss in Boots ad.
If that, I would pay him to do that.
Kaz and I, we are fighting like it's our last life. Just like Puss in Boots. And then you just hear someone in the production be like, wrong film, bud.
Take two.
Well, we are a Transformer. There you go. But we get them as the winners and they're excited because, like, to them, it's like securing their safety. It's showing the rest of the house, like, yes, we are actually a legitimate team that can beat you. But they're safe now. And our losers are Kiki and Darrell. And this is where Kiki goes, this is all gone pear-shaped real quick. And Darrell's just like,
I like pears.
What's wrong with pears? pairs are great. And Kiki's like explaining like, no, it's like because like you want it to be like a good circle, but then as soon as something doesn't go right, it like sort of flattens, and now you're in a pear shape. And he's like, but I like pairs. Means you got a good ass. And there I'm like, okay, you brought me back in, Jarrell. You brought me back in.
He's not done yet.
He's not done yet. But this is the worst case scenario for Kellyanne and Tristan because after losing Amber, and losing that connection with Troy, because now Troy's with Casey and Casey's with Jordan and Tori, they are only left with themselves and Kiki and Darrell. And with Kiki and Darrell already in elimination, they can't even rely on the fact like, well, we're going to get chosen, but at least we'll be like chosen with our pair. And we can at least try to fight to see if we can avoid that. Now they're like, we're most likely going in. So this now pushes Kellyanne to be like, I need to be forceful Kellyanne again. Because like the last time I was a little more forceful, it worked. We got bananas out.
It worked, but this is where that I think her forcefulness, it can't work because it was able to work before there were more teams in the house or whatever.
And you had more teams that were amenable to it.
When she's essentially going up to people and be like, especially going to the vets, be like, all right, your good friend, you want to throw them in instead? That'd be sweet.
But I'm going to give Kellyanne the credit of trying.
Of course.
Like, because like the next like three, like not paragraphs, but like portions of my thing are all like what Kellyanne is trying to pitch. Mm-hmm. So Kellyanne wants both the US teams in initially. So Kellyanne goes to Yeses and Emily goes like, would you guys be willing to do Casey and Troy, or not Casey and Troy? She originally does Danny and Tori, Sarah and Theo. And essentially Emily's just like, yeah, no. Or more so no on the Sarah and Theo part. Mm-hmm. And then she eventually goes back to yes and says, well, instead of Sarah and Theo, if I had you pitch to Emily, Casey, and Troy, as well as Danny and Tori, would she go for it? Mm-hmm. And he's like, okay, I'll try to like bring it to them. She goes like, and she's making her approaches to Casey. We hear from Casey that like I get it. Like, kudos to Kellyanne. She's been playing hard this whole game, but like, I promised Tori I would never say her name down. Like, let's roll back to last week where you definitely said Tori's name. But no, you never said Tori's name. We know that you never said it. So I'm not going to do that now. I don't trust her. Which I do think Casey needs to learn to be more flexible with her alliance structure, but that's just never been Casey either.
No.
Even on Big Brother, she had her squad and then that was it. And I think it's the only way we can get Casey to be more flexible is to have her on a season with no one else up from the Vacation Alliance or Nany there.
It would be nice to see. Don't know if it'll ever
because
happen.
Because I don't think she's a capable enough player where like if you throw her into a random pool with none of her friends, like she will just make new friends. Like what is very clear is that she isn't unlikable to the cast.
No.
Like a majority of every single cast very much enjoys Casey. It's just such a shame that we don't get to see her like what I believe is really hit her true potential of manipulating people because of this aura about her that, well, everyone likes me. I'm such a loyal person. She hasn't used it to her advantage to actually like put that knife into people and be like for herself above all else.
Well, and I think what really hurts that is the fact that she won Spies, Lies, and Allies, that like she showed that doing this, she can still win the game. I think maybe we start to get to the point where she'd think about playing a different way if she, had been 5, 6, 7 seasons in and didn't have a win. But the fact that she has a win.
She has a win because she came in last on the first day of the final, was gifted an elimination win because Nany gave up so that Casey could go forward, and then gets the reward of being the first person to pick their partner for the last leg of the final and gets to pick a in shape CT.
I didn't say that it was the most fair and best way that she won,
She
but
literally wins because she couldn't do it. Like, let's be real. She did one task with CT, one run up a mountain. Remember, half an equation, which apparently all of them could do anyway. And they come down and they get it done on the first try because CT probably remembered both of it.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying in
And
her
say
head,
I'm
she's
right.
like, I'm a win. No,
Just,
you are right.
there
I'm
we
not.
go.
You are right, but I'm saying the fact that she can, the way that she thinks of it is, oh, I have a challenge win playing the same
Right.
ways. And I, outside of when they made me pair with, my idiot brother, I've gone to the final every single season.
Joker Kenny, you are missed. Okay.
Season 39, he's coming back. Book
it. Definitely. Yeah. If he comes back, Dan Montchal will get a tattoo of Kane on his belly button.
No. We're done making tattoo bets.
Okay.
We'll see.
Okay, so now we get the conversation between Team USA and Jordan. And they make the agreement with each other through Jordan being like the mediator that we'll have one of Team USA in there because only 5 teams are voting. So most likely one of the US teams is going to get thrown in anyway. So we can move the house in the direction of the US team we want to put in there, and then we will dump the rest of the votes on Tristan and Kellyanne, and then obviously Jordan will force Kaz to allow them to put Tristan and Kellyanne in to elimination, and then whoever loses. We at least split up that duo. It needs to be done.
All of Jordan's, backhandedness here in making this deal, it just gives me flashbacks to, we were talking about it earlier, that this is kind of just what the vets do or whatever. But it reminds me of rookie Jordan when, he was paired up rivals 2 with Marlon and something similar or whatever that he hears, and he's going around and he knows how to get under Frank's skin and he goes, how's your campaigning doing? And it's just like, oh, Jordan, look what you're doing now, buddy. I love you, but you're doing the same thing.
You become who you hate eventually, because you learn the inside baseball of the challenge and you know what gets you brought back, and longevity in the game as well. But this just shows the hypocrisy because then we hear from Jordan, we hear from not from Cass, we hear from Jordan, we hear from Tori that like, okay, we are gifting Danny and Sarah, Tristan and Kelly, because we could do Yes and Emily right now. We could do that. Okay. And so if they don't follow through with their agreement, if Yes and Emily don't win next week and we don't get them thrown in, it'll really show Sarah's colors. And Sarah, being the survivor winner that she is, she's like, I don't care what I sign. This is like, this is a bed sheet that you're having me sign right now. Like, this means absolutely nothing. I'll do it if it makes sense to save myself, but like, I want my numbers. I want Yes and Emily here because I know that's a number not for me.
Scout's honor.
So her, and I believe Danny's probably the same way. Like, Danny's in confessional be like, look at this. We have a compromise. And I believe Danny more so than Sarah, where like Danny's like, look, I know we're getting close to the final now. As long as it means we're safe, I'll most likely do it. It depends on the situation. I think in his mind, it's like, well, like if Jordan and Kaz lose and are automatically in, yeah, I don't think I'm going to do it anymore.
And I still have to think that it's somewhat, I mean, it's different. Danny, he has this football background. He's an athlete. I don't think that, sure, it's going around that, Wes was a threat, Jordan was a threat. But I still think in some ways, Danny looking at it or whatever, being like, there's no way that Jordan's beating me at anything.
Right. Yeah. And then in order to decide who goes in, Sarah and Tori play rock, paper, scissors, and Sarah clean sweeps.
Tori, really bad at rock, paper, scissors.
Tori, very bad at rock, paper, scissors. Yeah, it's no longer grab a dagger. It's no longer pick a skull. It's now going to be rock, paper, scissors to go into elimination, and Tori's going to have the fear of God in her.
Come on, Tori. It's simple math. Most people, the first one that they're putting out paper because everyone is worried about the rock. That's why that first one that you're going rock, paper, scissors, throw out scissors first. They're putting out paper. You're going to win most of them.
Yep, and the other point here is the fact, and we talked about it earlier, so I won't bring it back in, is that Jordan intentionally did not have Kaz in the conversation because of her connection with Tristan. And because Tristan and her are friends. I get it. Totally. So when you get blindsided and it's because, well, we couldn't let you know because you were formally engaged to Tori, you're going to be cool about it, right? You'll understand it's part of the bigger picture.
I hope that it does happen because I've been on record on this podcast that my favorite Jordan is pissed off, irrational Jordan. Not because it makes him the best player, but it's the best TV. So that's what I'm rooting for.
You know what? I don't negotiate with terrorists.
Never.
A terrorist of love. Oh my God. Jordan's just so fucking cheesy, but it's so entertaining when he's pissed off. But so I agree. We get into deliberation. Very clean cut. It's going to be Danny and Tori and Kellyanne and Tristan. And Kellyanne's like sort of like getting choked up because it's her now realizing affirmatively that like, no, this decision was already made. Like nothing that I was going to do mattered. This decision was always going to be what it was. And most likely Jordan's going to get his way and have us go in instead of Danny and Tori. Because it's revealed. Kiki, once again, hilarious when she's given time. Like, you're wondering why I had you in for this meeting. We had to have some budget cuts. Some people need to let go, Kaz.
But I think the other thing that I did just want to say about Kellyanne is that, sure, she didn't have the relationships, but I think it shows how hard it is to play from the bottom of this game because she did everything right. You know, they won an elimination. She was able to swing the whole house, but by doing that, you're going to piss those people off. So if you're playing from the bottom of the challenge from the beginning, it's very hard to make it to the end. Like she did so many things well this game, but it's a stacked deck against her this season.
Like our thoughts on her are a complete 180 of how we were feeling about her in episode 1. And mainly that was just because she was going head to head with John A, who is just universally beloved. And it was like just coming across in a very antagonistic way that wasn't like TV entertaining to me as a viewer. It could have been very entertaining for other people, but at the moment it wasn't for me. But like throughout this journey, like it once again just allowed me to remind myself of the appreciation I have for Kellyanne as a challenge contestant. So unlike Nelson, she is a non-winner who I would give like a legend status to because I think Kellyanne is memorable. Like 100%. For better or for worse, she is someone who will always be herself. She'll act how she wants to act because she believes in herself. So like if she wants to be snippy with someone, she's going to be snippy with someone. If she's going to love someone, she's going to love someone. Like you're getting full Kellyanne at every single moment. It's like probably one of the few people who are the least fabricated as how their image is on the show.
Herself. She doesn't know how to turn it off.
No, like she literally had a tweet, I believe this day the episode dropped of like, you know, it was sad that I went home, so like I made up for it by posting a few pics on OnlyFans and going to Disney World or Disneyland. I don't know which one.
Same difference.
Yeah, and now she's on Challenge USA. I'm pretty sure.
Is she? Okay. She might be.
She's either on or an alternate. I forget which, but I know her name was within that rumor pool, and it wouldn't surprise me if like she was working with Tori because we get to the elimination. I'm going to sort of skip the other stuff because really it's just Kaz trying to defend to Jordan why Tristan and Kellyanne shouldn't be picked. And he's like, well, depending on the type of elimination, wouldn't it make sense to send Danny and Tori because they are the stronger team? I think we do better in a final against Kellyanne Tristan, which I believe is also true.
Yeah,
like it's all good points, but the the difficulty of the challenge is once you bring in the relationships and the alliances of it all, even though all of that makes sense. And I'm sure in the back of Jordan's mind, he's like, no, all of her points are 100% valid, but they're not valid because I was formerly engaged to Tori.
Well, that, and it's also Jordan's the type of competitor that he doesn't believe he can lose.
No.
For better or for worse, he doesn't believe. I mean, you saw him going, like, when he's riling Turbo up in World of Worlds 2, his whole point was, you may have won, but you didn't win a season where I was there, so your win doesn't count, which isn't accurate, but it's just, that's his mindset, that he believes that he can beat anyone.
Unless you beat me, you never won. I love it. I love it. And then Danny roasting Tori for feeling bad that people are elimination. And this time because, well, it's Tristan's birthday. And Danny's just like, why are you feeling bad? He's grown. He's grown. He can handle himself.
He'll be fine. He got his muffin / cupcake, whatever it was, from Kellyanne. He's fine.
Got his muffin from Kellyanne. And apparently he has his, he has been told he has big hands.
Good for you, buddy.
Apparently Kellyanne has big hands too for her 5'4" figure. I don't know what that means, but but we get to the elimination and we hear from Tristan's like, Kaz and I had our conversation about like keeping us informed so that like we don't get blindsided. I haven't heard from Kaz all day. And once again, pull back to episode 1 where Kellyanne's just like, well, if I knew I was putting you in, I would let you know ahead of time. Just like staring straight into the camera for that. Petty Kellyanne. Gotta love her. But Kaz like apologizes to Tristan. She's like, I guess I'm also sorry for you, Kellyanne, but like I'm actually friends with Tristan. So this is only directed at him, but like you both are going in. So it's them versus Darrell and Kiki in Hands Off, which is, I'll give you the percentages.
I have no clue.
50%, 30%, and 20%.
So we'll say puzzles. Puzzles one.
Puzzle skills.
Puzzle skills. Close enough.
I'll give it.
I feel like it takes patience, but that would make too much sense for him. Communication.
You know what? I'm gonna be nice here, and I'm gonna say that is. Do I say communication? It's actually teamwork, but you know what? I'm gonna count
teamwork. All right, so puzzle skills, teamwork, and
one more.
Let's Come on. Is it a stupid one? Is it like precision?
No. It makes sense for this challenge.
I have no idea.
Balance.
Okay. Yep. Nope. That made sense. That should have had that one.
So it's 50% teamwork, 30% balance, and 20% puzzle skills.
I'm petitioning to have military precision be one of the ones they use in a future episode.
This is an Australian Survivor.
Just give it to me.
Once Mark Wales decides to do a season of the challenge, then we can add military precision to it. Okay? Do we have a deal there?
That's fair. I can agree to that.
Okay, so for Hands Off, you'll start at the puzzle pieces holding each of you holding one giant chopstick. You'll then use those chopsticks to take one of 9 puzzle pieces over beams, over a deck, and down the steps into your section. Once you get all 9 pieces without them dropping to your station, you then will complete your puzzle, which is a tangram puzzle. I need your question here. Do we not like that Darrell acknowledges the tangerine joke?
No, I loved it. I thought it made it better.
Okay. I just want to make sure, because I loved it. I loved the breaking of the fourth wall there. It's like, hey, Kiki, I just need you to stand over to the side. I'm good at tangerine puzzles. I know they're called tangram puzzles, by the way. I'm not a dumbass. But I'm good at them.
I loved it.
Yeah. So initially, it looks like Kellyanne and Tristan are going to take the edge. They're using the chopsticks appropriately. But both teams are struggling a little bit. But Kiki and Darrell are just like not on the same page. They're constantly dropping the puzzle pieces. And as Danny says is like, man, it's amazing what happens when you use the chopsticks like chopsticks. I'm not going to discredit them because like I'm horrible with chopsticks, cannot use them for the life of me, just does not work. So, I'm on team Kiki and Darrell here. It's not as simple as you think.
No, you can tell that this is definitely one that I'm sure they were there for at least an hour trying to get the pieces across, because there were so many drops, and that is something that you will be able to figure it out, but it's going to take time and trial and error to get to, especially some of those pieces, like some of the flat ones, or the weird shapes. Like
there's
it was
some
just going to
that
take
are
a little bit.
Yeah, there's some that are very easy that you would be able to do like the cross format and just like be able to relay it over, no problem. You just need to have your good footwork, because it wasn't even looking like the beams themselves were that slim. Like I felt like you could easily get your full foot on them. So it was just like, okay, just
it's more about moving in unison.
Yeah, it was about moving in unison. But again, Kiki and Darrell pull through. They get the win. And like ultimately, I just think they're the better team. At the time, like, and that's nothing against Kelly and Tristan. I think they're both really good competitors, but I think we definitely hear from Tristan. I just think their like energies do not match. And they probably also had a disadvantage from the massive height difference with each other.
Yeah, they said there was about a foot difference.
Yeah, she was 5'4", he was 6'4". That's definitely going to be difficult with a balance that involves angles as you are trying to balance everything. Mm-hmm. But I was fine with them. Like Tristan is very much to me like the stereotypical like a Joss. Mm-hmm. Like doesn't say a whole lot. Probably is more articulate than Joss was.
It's a low bar.
It's like he is someone where I'm like, he's above the Nam level, where it's like I'm not offended by Tristan if he gets a callback.
Who's below the Nam level for you?
That's a great question. I you know what? Let's come back next week when I have time to truly think about Kenny. Kenny is below the Nam level for sure. Absolutely, but like just slim, because like Kenny somehow managed to give us less than Nam.
Well, when you're the nicest guy ever, like it's hard to be interesting.
You know what? Nice guys can be interesting. Kenny's just not interesting. But we leave with Kellyanne and Tristan going. We hear, I don't know if it's gonna mean anything, but we hear from TJ like explicitly telling them like get some rest. You're going to need it. But we leave with 7 teams left. As we said at the beginning, I see 7 teams that all could make a win here. Like I don't know how this season is going to go. I'm not gonna make predictions yet. It's too close. Once we get to final episodes, we can make our predictions. But here's my thing for you, because I was thinking about it while they were playing New Divide by Linkin Park, because guess what? That was a song on a Transformers movie. So
it was, which is almost identical to what I've done. Like listen to those 2 songs back to back.
Yep.
It's the same song.
It's the same song. Linkin Park doesn't care. They're like, yeah, it's easy money. But it got me thinking, in a world where the challenge moves off of MTV, and I even will say this about Challenge USA, like I get the need for it because cable still exists and you need to have some sort of programming. I honestly feel the Paramount Plus version of the challenge is just better.
100%.
It's just better. World Championships has been a lot of fun. The editing has been able to be very clean, very succinct. You're able to get like a good 48-minute episode out of this with like 3 minutes of it being a recap. So like a 45-minute episode, you get a full episode. You totally understand what's happening. You have good players. I'll include all-stars in this. Like you just have clean storylines. You understand everything that's happening. Whereas MTV version is too long. Like having a season go like half a year is not it. And Challenge USA is like, even if it was good, like let's say Challenge USA was entertaining, you don't get to put music in because you're on CBS now and you just do what's cheap.
Generic. Yeah.
And it's generic music that CBS just happens to have in its library to use. So you can't use real music. And that's like a big, that's part of what makes the challenge is because it's started on MTV. You could plug in music and make it topical to like what's going on and really like drive the motivation instead of let's play generic hype music number 7. That's what we're going to use for this elimination.
I think what they need to do if they want to start building the Paramount Plus like streaming platform is I think there's a way that you could start making that transition over. Is like there's no reason that we couldn't have been airing this on MTV in its normal challenge slot like every Wednesday. But you start, saying that, hey, you sign up for Paramount Plus, like you can watch it whenever, like as soon as Wednesday hits, it's on there. You don't have to worry about commercials. You could even say, hey, if you watch it on the Paramount Plus, like we give you a little bit extra, we give you something else. I think there's a way that you can start transitioning it over. But I think as of right now, where it's just like this is the only place you can watch it, I think you do need to make it a transition and not just this is where it is now.
Oh, for sure. For sure. But like, I'm almost at the point where I'm like, they should make 2 different versions of the show where you have Challenge USA Season 2 on CBS with your generic music, but you should have in there for like if you watch the episode on Paramount Plus, we'll have the music tied in. Like it'll be freshened up. Like you'll get more of like what makes the challenge instead of here's your commercials, here's your ad breaks. Because like this is still made in a way where like you have splits where you could easily throw this on MTV, throw it on CBS, and have it run as an episode.
Absolutely.
So it can be done. But we'll see. We'll see. Why would they listen to us? It's like how the challenge doesn't listen to us about, simple ways to keep players safe.
Well, no, Alex, they know what you want. They know what we want. It's like, all right, we have people talking about it on podcasts. I know what they want. They want a 27 episode season with a 14-part reunion. Like this is what gets the people.
No, going. If they really knew what we wanted, it was like right before the final. In order to determine who goes to the final, the winner of that daily has to give up their win and do fire making against whatever team that gets voted in. And then
otherwise you're not worthy.
No, you're not worthy. It would just be so boring to just do a normal elimination. It's like, I just know better than you. I just know better than you. As production, I know what you, the fans, want isn't what you want because that's dumb. I don't know who this could actually be about, Dan.
No, I have no idea. You're speaking in a cryptic tongue that I can't. Well,
if you want to know more about who I'm talking about, watch the after shows for Survivor every Wednesday. Immediately after the episode, some combination of Dan, myself, Matt the Beard Bischoff, not Johnny because Johnny will be doing watch parties for the rest of the Survivor season. And Dan, you have those on you.
I do. So we have 4 weeks left of Survivor 44. And as Alex mentioned, Johnny Fairplay will be doing watch parties for the next 4 weeks. He will be doing all of these with the Queen, Sandra Diaz-Twine. Starting this coming week on May 3rd, they're going to be at Cloud Brewing in Durham, North Carolina, where they're releasing their new beer on the can. It is Johnny, it is Sandra, and it is Jesse Lopez from season 43, as well as other former castaways will be there as well. The next week, it's going to be May 10th. They're going to be in Chicago at Bounce Nightclub. And then the following week, it's going to be Charlottesville, Virginia. Don't know the name of the location. I apologize for that. But Johnny does have another beer coming out because, of course, he does. And then for the finale, they are going to be at Lenny Boy Brewing in Charlotte, North Carolina. You can get tickets for all these at survivortix.com. That's survivortix.com. It's $25 for general admission, gets you in half hour before the episode. You watch the episode, there's trivias at the break, and you get to, talk to and meet some of these castaways. But if you're looking for more and you want to guarantee that you have time to speak to Johnny, speak to Sandra, speak to whoever else is there, you can go VIP. That gets you in an hour and a half before the episode starts. You also get signed autographed pictures and a buff from the current season. So you can get tickets for all of that at survivortix.com. That's survivortix.com.
But don't worry, if you want to hear Johnny's opinion, most of these weeks when he's not on the after show on Wednesday nights, him and stand-up comedian Wayne Memmott will most likely do their recaps on Friday mornings because they like to wake up at the ass crack of dawn. You know, Johnny has to get ready to do his challenge circuit now that he's hooked. Maybe because he met someone from MTV at like Hearts of Reality or something. Like, who knows? Like, but he's currently on it. He's shredded. He's ready to go. But we'll have to see. But also the best way to support us as a patron, Dan.
Yeah. So if you're the best way to support the podcast is become a patron at realitypatron.com. You sign up with that. That gets you access to the secret Facebook group, the live Q&As, which now may be the Johnny Fairplay show. We're still trying to figure that out, but it gets you bonus content where you can ask Johnny, Matt, and Wayne any questions you want. And I mean anything, they will answer it, as well as they are soon going to start their watch long of Australian Survivor Brains versus Brawn here in the next few weeks. So that's, like I said, that's the best way to support the podcast. If not, make sure to like and subscribe to us on YouTube. Hit the bell. That'll let you know every time that we're going live. And wherever you listen to your podcasts, make sure you rate and review us 5 stars. It really helps us out. We appreciate it. It takes 20 seconds tops. And I think that is going to do it for us. It'll be, like Alex mentioned, right after episode 10 of Survivor 44 on Wednesday night. You will get the live recap. And then, as always, Alex and I will be back next Friday breaking down episode 10 of the Challenge World Championships. That's going to do it for us, and we will see you all next week.
See ya.
And for more bonus content, go to realitypatron.com. That's right, become a patron now. Get additional coverage of all your favorite shows, the weekly Q&A, and you become a member of the secret, exclusive Facebook group. That's realitypatron.com.